With the main timber frame of the porch finished, it was time to get some more wood for the project. Welcome back to Boneset Ranch. My neighbors and I are working together to clear the land that has become overgrown, and we are starting with trees that are already downed by storms, which for me is a great source for good straight quality oak and pine lumber that is pre-aged. Along with being a ledger on the wall, I'm using this board to create a template board for the trusses that I'll build out on the beams at 4 feet on center. Oh, that was way off. Ugh. I'm testing it. Okay. Okay, so the big beam, this goes out in the middle. I'm just putting it here to size it up against an easier member to work with. But now, the big beams that I have will replace this on the top here and become the top chord of this truss. I need to build one more like this, and that means 3 more of the big beams that I already roughed out. And then I'll have the 2 interior trusses. Then I need to make one more triangle for the end, the gable end, and put the 2-bys across. Simple as that. But I think this will look pretty good. Once I've taken this back apart and duplicated this guy, then when this comes back together, I'll dry fit it, and when I've got it dry fit, this will get screwed off right here. So that'll lock that in and just provide a really more substantial truss than most anything you'll see on something this size. Alright. Now everything comes back down. Smooth. Here's where I get to use that template board to mark the top chord of the truss with the bird's mouth notch for the beam set and the angle of the ridge cut. Then it's just a matter of cutting to the marks. Keep in mind this is oak wood I'm working with here. I've been zipping through the pine wood, cutting it with this saw, but cutting the oak wood with a handsaw is an exercise in patience. So now I have the pieces built. I need 5 more of those. 1 more of this guy. And 1 more of this guy. Actually, I'll probably do 2 more of these. Alright, have a look at that. That is going to be cool. Very cool. Heavy bastard. All right. Badass trusses here. Oh my goodness. Alright, check it out. Truss is done. I have to put the nailers on the wall, and then it's time for sheathing. Exciting. I'm having to add a step in the roof plane right here because there's a escape hatch door for the loft area, just as a extra safety precaution. So this is locally sourced wood again, milled up right on site and applied directly to the cabin. So I may be using power tools and a power sawmill and not doing the full pioneer method of trying to construct something like this, but it really can't be stated enough how satisfying it is to use the wood that comes from the land directly into the build. And better yet, this is just the start of doing what is needed to clear these forests of the undergrowth and the downed wood that is a fire hazard. And hopefully I can get the lands into a place where they aren't as hazardous for wildfire as they have become. This is a porch, so I don't plan to insulate the roof. I also plan to use the same corrugated metal roofing that I've used on the rest of the cabin. By using the continuous 2x material for the decking, I am creating the ceiling look I want from underneath when I look up at the porch, and I'm creating a good bearing deck to install the roofing too. The lumber I'm using isn't perfect. It's got some live edges, it's got some bends and checks, but that's okay because the roofing doesn't require as much bearing surface as I'm providing, and it'll give some visual interest from the view underside. The challenge is that I had to just kind of wing it as I went along to create the continuous decking. Golly gee. Beach.
That darn ladder.
Rear. So it's perfectly fine here, but I did have to learn to be more selective about where I put the ladder on the ground. And then I had to get right back up on that horse and ride it again.
So even if it gets windy, I don't have to worry.
Is it just this side that you have the paper on?
I've got some on the other side too.
Oh.
So, but the other side has complications.
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor and come open this door? Might be kind of hard, but you have to move that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it's afraid of. All right. Hello, bear. With the roof on, I could bring in the fireplace and start enjoying having the expanded area under the porch roof to enjoy nature. There have been a lot of starts and stops to this project, but I'm really pleased with the progress. I like how everything's turning out. And it just makes a great place to hang out. Thanks for watching, and if you've stuck around this long, here's some bonus information. In the time I was working on the porch, I did add another project of reconfiguring my living room, which was quite a big project. That, incidentally, is where the fireplace came from. That's now used down at the porch. And I also retired from a 30-plus year architecture career. And we decided the porch was good and it was time to make it even better. It needed a floor and it needed a way to make a mouse and bug-free environment for us to hang out in on the shoulder seasons. So we decided to go for a screened-in porch. The first thing was using the base lumber from my old sawmill base to start creating a floor. The rock base for the floor is several feet thick and well compacted, and so it makes a very stable base. You use pressure treated lumber to build directly on top of. This was the only part that used purchased lumber. And then I built some knee walls in, all of which is being framed from the floor up with lumber milled on site. Next was some building paper to stop drafts, and then I added the rounded cutoffs of the first pass cut on the logs that I had milled. It's a bit of a departure from the way I sided the cabin itself, but it is purposeful in that it gives it that developed over time look as opposed to everything built all at once with the same theme, and it also used up lumber that I had available. I'm also keeping in mind that I have curious bears in the area, and this is kind of a pressing their way into the base that's going to have furniture and other things that curious bears would want to poke around at. The screen door is from a restore, and then once the knee walls were done, I screened in the areas above the knee walls to keep out the mice and the mosquitoes. An old dresser gives us a kind of kitchenette area. The sink is hooked up to a tank with a pump, and it drains to a dry well. And that was finally the end of the project. The only thing left is to mortar in the rock base. But that's another video. Thanks for watching.